In this video, we're going to look at coordinates in the first quadrant and in all four quadrants. The first quadrant is a grid where all of the numbers going along the bottom and going up the side are positive. You can see on this one, I've marked the numbers that go along the bottom. We call that the x-axis. The x-axis is the axis that runs left to right. The y-axis is the one that runs bottom to top or top to bottom, and in our case this y-axis, because it's in the first quadrant, all the values on the y-axis, all the values on the x-axis as well, are positive. We can use the numbers on the x-axis and the y-axis to plot some points that we call coordinates on that grid. You can see here I've put one on the grid and we're going to work out what the coordinates of that point are. It's important to remember that when we're writing a coordinate of a point on a grid, we always use the number on the x-axis first, the one that goes left to right. So if we look at this example, we can see that the red dot that marks our coordinate on the x-axis is level with the number 5. So the first part of our coordinate for the dot that we've put is 5. For the second part of the coordinate, we see where our point is on the y-axis. We do the x-axis first and the y-axis second. So we know that our x-axis number is 5. So in this example, we can see that our dot is level with 3 on the y-axis. The y-axis is the one that goes bottom to top. So our total coordinate is 5, 3. We write the x-axis number first and the y-axis number second. So it's 5, then 3. In a second, stop the recording and see if you can work out what the coordinates of points A, B and C are. The coordinates of point A are 3, 4. We go along the x-axis first, and A is in line with the number 3 on the x-axis. So our first part of the coordinate is 3. Our second part is on the y-axis. So we go up the side and we find that A is level with the number 4. So our coordinate is 3, 4. We put the number on the x-axis first and the number on the y-axis second. The coordinates of B are 5, 8. We go along the x-axis, the left to right axis, first, and we see that B is in line with 5. And then we go up the y-axis and we see that B is in line with 8. So the coordinates of B are 5, 8. We do the x-axis first, the y-axis second. The coordinates of C are 8, 2. We go along the x-axis and we see that C is in line with 8 on the x-axis, and then we go up the y-axis and we see that C is in line with 2 on the y-axis. We can plot the coordinates of shapes as well as points, so we could call this triangle ABC, and we could say that the coordinates of triangle ABC are 3, 4, 5, 8 and 8, 2. In this example, Dave has drawn 3 vertices, 3 angles of a rectangle on his grid, but there's one missing. And we're asked to find what the coordinates of the missing vertex are. See if you can work that out. Stop the presentation, have a little go of it, and then the answer's on the next slide. Before trying to work out what the missing vertex is, we can help ourselves a little bit by drawing the actual rectangle, or whatever shape we're asked to draw, and we can then just read off the coordinates. So we can see that the missing vertex on the x-axis, the one we put first, is 3, because that missing vertex, if we come down to the x-axis, we see it's in line with 3. and we can see it's in line with the 6 on the y-axis. So x-axis first, y-axis second. The coordinate of the missing vertex are 3, 6. We can work out given coordinates, but we can also be given coordinates and construct a shape from those coordinates. So here you're asked to draw a triangle with these coordinates, 6, 1, 6, 9, 9, 4. If you've got a printer, there should be a document on the page that you can just print out that shows this empty grid. If not, just draw one on a piece of paper. And here are the correct coordinates. We've got 1 point at 6, 1, so we go along the x-axis, see where 6 is, and mark that. We go along the y-axis, see where 1 is, and mark that, and that gives us our first coordinate. For the second coordinate, 6, 9, we go along the x-axis to 6, and then we go up the y-axis to 9, so the x-axis first, the y-axis second. We plot our second point there. Our third point's at 9 on the x-axis and 4 on the y-axis, so we draw that point in, and then we can just connect those up to form our triangle. So far, all of our coordinates have been in the first quadrant. That's the one where all of the points are positive numbers. You can see that there are other quadrants that we can use, and we call this plotting coordinates in all 4 quadrants. So each quadrant has a different balance of positive and negative numbers, and our 0 is in the middle in this example. So all the ones on the left hand top side are negative first because the x-axis numbers are all negative in that quadrant, and then the y-axis numbers are all positive. So any coordinates in that quadrant are going to be negative, then positive. If we come down to the bottom left, all of the coordinate numbers are going to be negative because the x-axis, the one that runs left to right, right to left, are negative, and the y-axis ones, the ones that run downwards or upwards, are also all negative. If we move along to the bottom right, then all of the x-axis coordinates are going to be positive because all the x-axis numbers in that quadrant are positive, and all of the y-axis numbers, the ones going top to bottom, bottom to top, are negative. So each quadrant has its own balance of positive and negative coordinates. So using that information, see if you can write down the coordinates of these letters. So here are the coordinates. You can see that the coordinates of A are both positive because it's in that first quadrant. We go along the x-axis and the A is in line with 5. We go up the y-axis, it's in line with 4. So the coordinates are 5, 4. We use the x-axis coordinate first. If we look at B and we go along the x-axis first, B is in line with positive 2 on the x-axis, but negative 3 on the y-axis. It's really important to get them the right way round. The x-axis number is positive 2 for B. The y-axis number is negative 3. With C, they're both negative. Both coordinate numbers are negative. If we go along the x-axis, we can see that C is in line with negative 2. If we go down the y-axis, we can see it's in line with negative 3. It's minus 2, minus 3, or negative 2, negative 3 are the coordinates because we're using the x-axis number first. And lastly, D is negative 5, positive 4. We're going along the x-axis first and it's in line with negative 5. We're going up the y-axis second and it's in line with positive 4. And just like we did with coordinates in the first quadrant, we can plot the coordinates of different shapes. Here we're asked to plot the coordinates of a quadrilateral. That doesn't necessarily mean to say that it's a square or a rectangle. So think about that. See if you can draw that quadrilateral with those given coordinates. So you can download the Word document that shows this this grid, or you can just simply draw one out yourself. And here is that quadrilateral with those marked down coordinates. See if you got it right. And as with plotting the coordinates of shapes in the first quadrant, we can sometimes be given some information. So Sally's drawn a parallelogram on the grid. Think about what a parallelogram looks like. She's marked 3 of the vertices. What are the coordinates of the missing vertex? See if you can work them out. As with the example before, the best thing to do is to draw the shape in. So if I draw in the lines of my parallelogram, I can see that the missing vertex is -3, -2. It goes across all of the 4 quadrants. So it's -3, -2 because if I go along the x-axis first, it's level with the -3. If I go down the y-axis second, it's level with the -2. So the coordinates of that missing vertex, -3, -2. Now have a go at the ones on the sheet. There's a question sheet and an answer sheet so that you can check how well you've done.